If you've been following me for a while, then you probably know that most of my catalog as a musician was done by me. Everything that was released and everything that you hear and everything that you see was created by moi. 2015, I put out 2 albums. 2016, I put out like 6 albums. That was a fun year. 2017, I put out like 4 albums or something. 2018, I put out another album. 2019, like it just kept going on. And as I said in my last video, every album that I put out really has always felt like a chapter of my life that I felt the need to kind of document and then share with everybody. And then I also talked about in the video, like, well, what about the dark albums? And I talked about In Bereft Land, this EP that I put out with my band, Minutes Unsettled. Really, in one word, I can only describe it as stagnant. It was a stagnant place that I was in. But I wanted to talk about the album that really helped me not stay in such a dark mindset even after. Because the way that In Bereft Land ends, spoiler alert, while there's some triumph in, leaving that bereft land finally, it's also sort of like, well, I've won, but at what cost? The following album that I put out was another solo album. It was something that I felt like it wasn't me that was writing the music so much. It felt like something else was writing it. Because of that, I started putting my music out as the name Solely Part. And if I could describe this album in one word, it would be the title of the album, which is Empower. And during that chapter, it was a lot of learning how to be patient with myself, a lot of self-love, all that type of stuff. Because I started stepping more into my spirituality and really learning about myself and learning, who I am and who I want to become and all of that. And while that doesn't really ever go away, I think self-discovery is such an important part of anybody's life. And it should always remain constant. This was like a really important time for me that I started doing that. And during that time, I would say the biggest thing that helped me through that was astrology. I was joking during the whole time. I'm like, oh my god, I'm such a basic white girl for being into all this type of stuff. But it was really what was bringing me peace. And I mean, while I don't really get so much into astrology anymore, it was really just kind of a tool for me during that time. It really helped. I would highly recommend astrology as a tool for anybody who is first consciously stepping into the self-discovery aspect of spirituality. So what I ended up doing was I put out this album, Empower, and there's 12 songs. And there's 12 astrology signs. So if you see where I'm going with this, each song has the personality of each astrology sign. So this is the part where you go, oh my god, I'm a insert astrology sign here. What's my song? I highly recommend that you check out the album. The album actually, it's in chronological order, but it starts halfway through. So instead of starting with like Aries and then ending with Pisces, it actually starts with Libra. Then the first half of the album, which is Shag Carpet, ends on Pisces. The second half of the album where it ends with Virgo. And like I said, I don't really do the astrology stuff anymore. I feel like I just don't need it in my life anymore. And same with Empower as well. Like it's such a really important album for me because that was like where I feel like I finally broke the cycle. I'd say probably about 90% of my solo albums were very, very dark and very self-deprecating. So Empower was the first album that for me was really highlighting, let me do what I can for myself so then I can really bloom, as the final song is, and show the world what I'm made of. I wanted to talk about Empower because that was the way that I broke my cycle. And I did something that I always thought was kind of corny to do for a while. I'm like, why would I write happy music? Why would I write this like inspiring music? But I realized that it was because I just didn't feel that way about myself for the longest time until I started stepping into that chapter of my life. I've had some people also say to me like, you know, Adam, your music is always so moody and dark and sad and stuff all the time. And it's like, yeah, maybe during the, like, my early days and stuff as a musician, but even then I still would try to write a little bit more inspirational. But at the same time, maybe I just feel more comfortable writing dark music. It's not to say I'm like this dark person or anything. I feel like I have a very radiant personality, but it's just what I understand myself the most on, and the way that I choose to express myself. So I'll end this video with one final parting thought, and it's one of my favorite sayings. Art should comfort the disturbed and disturb the comfortable. So, what is it that you find comfort in?